Hello and welcome. It's good to see you. My name is Beth, and this is my Flosstube. I decided to shift where I was sitting. There's so many floss tubes that have such interesting backgrounds, and I didn't do this over here before because it's kind of a mess, and it's not really stitching related either, except for the shelf over there. Um, so I've been picking something plainer, but it looked kind of boring. So I decided to try something different. So I'll start with my throwback finishes because it's Christmas. I have past Christmas things that I kept. This is a Dimensions gold kit that I did for my grandfather, who had played Santa for me and a bunch of other kids. He had the build for it, though not the beard, that was fake, or the hair. And when I was little, for me and a bunch of other kids, lived in Hawaii for a few years at the time. My father was posted there, and one of my friends apparently told me or my mother that, though, that has to be best grandfather because no one else on the island is big enough. I don't remember this, but my mother found it funny. I remember that this was a Dimensions gold kit that was nearly full coverage, even though, at least I thought it was at the time. Even though looking at it really closely, most of that white is actually the paper, is actually the fabric. And I'm like, I don't really know if I like these. They're detailed and intricate, but I don't know if I like them. It was 1999, so it was a long time ago, and before I got into even more stitching. This was a bell pull. I don't know where the top went, but yeah, I think it was a kit, which came with the fabric. I do not remember and have no information on where it came from. I don't recall stitching it. This is kind of a door hanger piece. The design, I believe, came from one of my mother's old cross stitch books. I always liked the poinsettias. I don't believe I kept that book, but it's kind of a neat piece. I don't know where I got this finishing piece from either, but I've used it multiple times over the years and have appreciated it. I've only got one cross stitch ornament that I kept. It's highly likely that the pattern came from one of the Cross Stitch magazine ornament books, but I can't say for sure, and I'm not going to go back through those because I did keep those and try to find out. And then this cute little thing. So I loved the way that the little alphabet letters were used as part of the ground. I believe I got this at Cross Stitch Shop in Gainesville, Florida, when I was at school there. But I don't remember the name of the Cross Stitch Shop, and it's not there anymore. I don't have any. Actually, I do. Wait, I forgot. Since our last Flosstube, I have made an ornament for the EGA ornament exchange at our Christmas get together later this week. This was on a fabric that was probably intended for like a table linen. This light green bit here is woven into the Ada, and it's probably a 14 count. I didn't check because I didn't use a pattern for this one. I just kind of started on one piece in order to make it fit into the square. I decided to do some outlining. Then I'm like, well, how big is that? Let's divide it. Let's add some more designs. Let's keep the colors simple. Let's plan to use some beads for a little bit of glitter. And I've got a picture of this on Instagram that's unassembled, and a picture that shows what it looks like before I added the beads, which is a really great um, case for why value changes in your piece make things stand out. The way I sewed this is I had done backstitch on both pieces of the design, and then I just whip stitched the back stitch, this, which I've done before. This one in particular, I whip stitched while adding the trim so that I was assembling it and adding the trim at the same time, which I found to be much more efficient. So that's my only finish, and it's my FFO, my fully finished object. I find that one funny. I had not heard that before watching Flosstube. I've had a number of things in progress. I did not go back and watch my last Flosstube, so I'm not 100% sure what of these are starts. I know this one is. This one is going to be a little felt cardinal. It's two-sided. It's meant to be an ornament. We started this as a small project, petite project, in our November EGA meeting. And I'll show it to you when it's done. I kind of like doing the little felt stitches. It's kind of nice. Now, what I have in progress, stay with Christmas for a minute. This is the Lola Crow, mostly the Cryptid Christmas stitch along. Look at all those empty circles. So I have the skeleton, which is from a previous release. But then this is the first section of this year's design. And this is the second section, which I've started, but quite clearly have not moved forward all the way on. This black really requires the light and the magnifier, and so that gives me limited amount of time that I can work on it. But I'm pleased with my progress. I'm up to date. I'm just not very far yet on the second piece. I'm also working on Witch's Gardens Crafts. Here We Come A-Wassailing. I got the fabric from her, which I showed you before. And this is the design so far. I'm done with parts 1 and 2, and partially done with part 3 on the bottom. I ended up using 3 strands instead of 2 on the 14 count because I really felt that the added bulk and raised effect helped with the pattern because it's a more primitive style pattern. Now, this is the progress I made on Breathe before Christmas happened. We've got a lot going on here. Look at that. Look at, I can't even fit, can I fit it all? Woohoo! One nice thing about this new place to film is that I could actually fit the whole thing in on the screen by leaning back. I'm really happy with it. I've got one more tree in progress, and then the rest of those motifs will be air motifs. And I've figured out I'm going to need to add a whole bunch of little tiny air motifs in order to make it look like I'm filling the entire space. If I had to do it again, I'd probably do that red brown at the bottom, a little lighter, but I still like it. It's a good grounding value to have it down there. And this is using silks from my stash on a 28 count even weave that I don't know more about than that. It's just a pale kind of blue-gray. Now, I also started the Fisher King. I've been wanting to do a long dog for forever, since back when I was cross-stitching in the early 2000s. And Death by Cross Stitch was one of the most dramatic ones available. And when the Fisher King was released at the beginning of November, I had to do it. That was the one I picked. And this is how far I've gotten. And it is such a small part of the design. This is going to take up most of this piece of fabric. I mean, I only have a couple inches space on each side. I do have about like 4 or 5 inches space on the bottom and top, theoretically, if I counted correctly. But it feels like I've done so much, and yet I've done so little. But it's 938 and 3808 and a little bit of Nordic gold so far on a 32 count linen that I had a large piece of but didn't have the name attached to it or anything. So again, I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of a light beige, which I think works well with the colors that I picked. It also was about the only piece of fabric I had big enough for this. So it was kind of pick colors that went on the fabric or go shopping. And I didn't really want to do that. I did go shopping. But most of my haul I can't show you because I don't have the patterns yet. It would not make sense unless I try to put the inset pictures up, and I don't want to do that. So it will have to wait. I'm waiting for the patterns to arrive, and they're not here. I did get, however, something that I had ordered previously that arrived, which is my Woobles Sandworm Crochet Kit. I have crocheted Wooble dinosaur last fall, and then a bee with a pattern from a different company from my mother that was an emigrami, a little stuffed animal crochet piece. And my daughter saw some patterns in Barnes & Noble, some of the kits, and she's like, "Can you make this for me?" And I'm like, "Well, do you want me to make this? Or do you want me to make this?" And she was like, "Ooh, I want this." So I had to order it, and it was back ordered, and I haven't started it yet. I opened it up, but I'll get there. And I really do recommend, if you want to try cross-stitch, little kit cross-stitch stuffed animals, that Woobles are expensive, but they're worth it because they have the start. They've already done the starting piece for you, even with the stitch markers and where to put your next stitch with the crochet hook. And this is a t-shirty kind of yarn, so it's not going to fray on you, and you're not going to be able to put your crochet hook in the wrong spot. And because this is a special edition, it came with a really cool special crochet hook, but all of the kits come with a crochet hook. The instructions are online. You need to be able to log on to the website, but it provides a code for you to log on with. And I'd tried to crochet a couple times before, over the years before I did the Woobles kit. Ooh, I have it right here. This little guy. I made this last year. I was very impressed with myself. And their instructions were really good. For me, the money was worth it, because otherwise this guy would have never happened. Or the scarf I made, or the bee cross stitch. And then I didn't do any more at all for all year. No books today. I didn't prepare anything for that, so I'll bring a book in next time. Probably not till the new year. I might get ambitious, but I doubt it, because there's just so much to do in the lead up to Christmas, and then I'm gone visiting my parents after my mother after Christmas, and so January. See you then. Have good holidays if you celebrate them, and I'm looking forward to getting more stitching done. Goodbye.